For centuries, humans have been growing alongside our botanical brethren. Our histories have mixed and mingled to bring us modern medical marvels, faded folklore, and everything in between. Of course, in order to understand the plant, we have to start with its roots. I'm M. Grebner Gaddis, and this is Rooted. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lightly Rooted, where this week it is so hot, and it looks like it's only going to keep getting hotter as I'm recording this. Unfortunately, not just for where I am in the United States, but across the United States, and honestly across the globe, we're only going to see temperatures that are getting hotter and hotter year over year. So I wanted to do a little bit of research into some cooling herbs to hopefully spread cooling vibes your way, and help us all figure out some natural ways to beat the heat. Obviously, you could just drink water and stay inside, but that's honestly not the most fun option, and we have a ton of really cool research and just ancient knowledge from folks who had to live before there was AC. So today, I figured we could dive into some of their advice and figure out some ways together that we could maybe make the heat just a tiny bit more enjoyable. And maybe we can make a little tea blend together while we do this. I'm going to start off with an article from just Healthline. This is a pop science website that typically covers just medical stuff. It is not necessarily hard science, but all of their articles here are medically reviewed, typically at least by folks who have some idea if this could be right or not. But again, this is not necessarily, they're reading peer-reviewed studies to get this information, but this is not by a research group. It's just a fun little article, kind of like what we do here. Except for slightly more legit because they ask real doctors, and normally I don't. They're giving us a cheeky little warning, so I'm going to give it to all of you. Herbs are not regulated by the FDA. I know we've talked about that before. It means do your own research before you start buying herbs, before you start using them. And again, it's your job to know how herbs can interact with your prescribed medications or just your body in general. So if you're looking to start a new herbal supplement or even just ingest new herbs regularly, it's always best to talk with your doctor or a different member of your primary healthcare team. And with that, we'll go ahead and dig into what they're saying. They're giving us a list of different cooling herbs and how they work. So to go over this for you, they kind of fall into two categories typically, or they can fall into both categories. So refrigerants work by lowering your body's temperature and physically cooling down your tissue. And we'll dig into the science of that in a second. But first, let's talk about what plants are kind of doing this that are the most popular, that you're most likely to find in your local health food store, herb shop, or just tea blends this time of year. So that's going to be your lemongrass. It's going to be chrysanthemum, lemon balm, lavender, spearmint, peppermint, and chamomile, again, are refrigerants. And then there's diaphoretics. And just like it sounds, diaphoretics are going to encourage you to sweat. So that's peppermint, lemon balm, catnip, elderflower, and chamomile. And I know that it kind of sounds weird to be why would I want to drink shit that makes me sweaty? But when we think about why we sweat, it's the body's response to help us cool down our tissues. So yes, typically we think about sweating when we're hot, but ultimately this isn't making you hot, it's just making you sweat. Okay, and now we're getting into some very interesting, old school Eastern medicine. So we're talking about Ayurveda right now, and they have 5 tastes. And this is very similar to traditional Chinese medicine, which also has 5 tastes. And the reason this is important is because the way things taste in those practices tell you exactly what they are doing in your body. So the tastes that they have are sweet, sour, salty, bitter, astringent, or pungent. And in Chinese medicine, those flavors are sweet, sour, salty, acrid, bitter. And the tastes, like I said, determine what they're going to do to your body. So if it's sweet, bitter, or astringent, they're cooling. And then if they are salty, sour, or pungent, they're going to warm you up. So chilies are considered pungent and astringent in Ayurveda, and chilies are super hot, so they're going to warm your body up. They cause the tissues to get warm, and they do have some cooling properties, but it's mostly just like they make you hot, so then you sweat. So if you're trying to sweat something out like a toxin, chilies are a good option because they're going to physically make you sweat, and that heat is going to kind of help you. Whereas, like, if you're trying to actually cool down, maybe not chilies, because they actually make you hot. And now they're also pointing out that you can't do like super sugary stuff. So you want sweet that's subtle. You want melon, almonds, milk, fruits, that kind of thing. But you're not trying to eat chocolate. You're not trying to eat ice cream. That can cool you down, but it's not like the kind of cooling they're talking about. And now this article is kind of going on to describe that in Ayurveda, the idea of cooling down is not about eating food that is cool in temperature. Certainly, eating food that is cool in temperature can feel cooling, but they're pointing out that that cooling effect doesn't last for that long. It really only lasts while you're eating it, and then it's going to change because our body naturally is going to warm up that food as we digest it. So ice cream can provide temporary relief, but it's mostly psychological, right? Because it's just cooling us down. It's not lowering our body temperature. Whereas when we're eating some of these herbs, it's actually having a cooling effect on your tissues. So it is going to be cooling you down. And now they're kind of getting into more Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine things about the difference between how we feel and internalize heat in our bodies versus cold. And while I do think that's interesting, it's kind of moving past the herbs, and I'd like to kind of stay focused there. So we're going to go ahead and skip that, but I do encourage you to learn more if that's something that's interesting to you. It's definitely something that comes up a lot in herbalism, and they are important to understand, even if they are not technically recognized by Western science. I think there's still plenty of evidence there, and ultimately what works for me and my body might be different than what works for yours, but a lot of this is just using food as medicine, so if you feel like you want to try it, there's usually not any harm. So this article is specifically talking about the different herbs and how they work to fight the heat in your body. But they're, again, referencing the ways that heat can manifest in the body. So it's a lot of how it fights kind of like digestion problems and things of that nature. So, and a lot of these are also skin soothers. So a lot of what heat is said to do to the body is to cause a lot of like pain or sensitivity. So the soothing is what ultimately would help you kind of relax. And we've talked about some of these on the podcast already, but a lot of them again are anti-inflammatory and can ultimately just increase like the flow of like sweat and things. So they're diuretics. They're helping your body to move things through them. They're supporting your lymphatic system, they're supporting your sweat, and that's all super important when it comes to cooling down. So now we're moving on to a different article from the Northwest School of Aromatic Medicine, and this is called Cooling Herbs for the Summer. It's really talking about how plants can help restore some of the balance. So again, this is going to be primarily based on Ayurveda and also traditional Chinese medicine. A lot of this is talking a lot about the different energies that are assigned to the herbs. So in traditional Chinese medicine, cooling herbs are said to feed the yin of the body, which is essentially like bringing things down deeper into you. And it's going to help fight that inflammation, that kind of pain that can be caused, that discomfort, that anger, that irritability, all those things that we tend to feel as we get warmer because of what heat is physically doing to the body. And again, we could spend like literally years describing this. It's complicated. I am not a doctor of Oriental medicine, so unfortunately I can't fully speak to this. Definitely, if it's interesting to you, you should dig into these articles and do a little bit more of your own research. But essentially, taste, again, we're talking about how taste can help us know if it's cooling. So again, sweet, bitter, astringent is how we're going to know. So if something is lightly sweet, like mint can be sweet and it can also be bitter and astringent. Lemon balm is a good example of that. I would say lavender is maybe a little bit bitter. And again, they are refrigerants, they are diuretics, and they can be a bit astringent. So lemon balm and hibiscus are both really strong refrigerants, and they can also kind of help to calm you down, which when we're talking about heat, they say that one of the big indicators of heat is being irritable or angry. So having that sedative literally helping to cool you down in terms of emotions as well as in your body can be really helpful. And then peppermint and chamomile, again, are diaphoretic, or they're also typically referred to as expectorants. So that's things that's going to help move all of that through your body. And then astringent could be anything that's going to help you circulate that cool feeling through your body. So it would be great to pair all three of those, but especially pairing like a refrigerant with an astringent can really help move that around. And those are actually going to be rose, yarrow, and blackberry leaf. And most people like to make these into kind of just a tea. You can drink it. Most people are going to drink it, I'm not going to lie to you, as a cold tea. I know we just got done talking about how like cold foods technically don't necessarily cool you down, but I'm sorry. There's not enough money in the world to make me drink a hot tea today. It's just not going to happen. It's too hot. I'll cry. But some people also like to do this by making an essential oil spray or a hydrosol, and then using like lotions and creams. So some people are making like DIY sun lotion, or anything like that. Not sunscreen, sun lotion, meaning like you put it on after the sun, just to clarify. And then they're just kind of giving us the same kind of rundown. So with that in mind, I'm thinking maybe we could try to come up with a few different tea blends. And this might be something that if we have some time, I can do a little video on if you guys want. But for now, I can just give you kind of like what my go-to tea blend has been. I know we talked about this on the show a while ago, but I did actually go through Cornell to get a certificate in plants being used for herbal medicine. And since then, I've taken a lot of additional courses that have helped me to understand this all a lot better. But like I said, I am not by any means considering myself an herbalist, and I'm certainly not your primary care provider. So what I do for me might not always be what's best for you. But with that in mind, my go-to blend recently has been a little lavender, hibiscus, peppermint moment. But I'm kind of switching more to lemon balm, mostly because our garden currently has an explosion of lemon balm, and I have a bunch of leftover lavender from our harvest last year. So that's been what's been getting me through the days. Sometimes I do mix in spearmint, but recently I've been really loving that hibiscus, minty lavender. I think lemon balm will also be nice because it will add kind of that levity with lemon. It's going to give it kind of a citrusy vibe, which I think could be really good. I could also see spearmint being really refreshing in there, but I've been really liking that. Usually I'll put just like a little bit of honey in there when it's still warm, and then I'll refrigerate the whole thing. And it's been really nice for days where it's just so unbearably hot. It's a nice little drink to have, and it makes me feel fancy. But I've also seen a lot of like lavender, rose, chamomile mint situations. Those are great. When I worked in a nursery, I drank that like every day. An iced lavender, rose, chamomile, I believe is what they called it. But that was delightful. And those are both typically equal parts for me. But like I said, you could definitely mix it up. I will leave some additional recipes in the show notes. But really, any of these that you have on hand or that you're growing anyway would be a great addition. I think you could also do a lemonade. Now I kind of want to do that. Like where you could do like an Arnold Palmer situation. I think that actually sounds like the best idea I've ever had. So I'm actually probably going to go do that right now. But I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, be kind to yourselves, be kind to the earth, and just like a plant, drink your water. If you liked the show, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at rooted.pod. We're finally updating regularly on YouTube at rooted.podcast, and you can check out our website, rootedpod.com, for transcripts, updates, merch, and so much more. The show is written, produced, and hosted by me. I'm Grebner Gaddis, edited by Kat Friend of Friend Diagram, and our theme music was written and produced by Eric Cluxon. Rooted is a Henbane Media LLC production.